Welcome to the Hatchery 101 webinar series by Hatchery International. My name is Ben Normand, and I will be the host and moderator for today's discussions on energy efficiency in hatcheries. Now, optimizing your hatchery's energy consumption can be as simple as turning off unessential electronics or as comprehensive as installing solar panels for an off-grid generator system. To figure out what the right next steps for your operation would be, I'll be talking with a panel of experts to share knowledge and best practices for energy efficient operations. I'd like to acknowledge the sponsor of this webinar series, Hatchery International, without which this webinar series would not be possible. Now I'll be welcoming our panelists. First, Mike Anderson. Just a quick note, folks, Mike was unfortunately involved in an accident and is currently recovering and will not be able to join us today. So on behalf of myself, the other panelists, and all the staff at Hatchery 101, I want to take this opportunity to wish Mike a speedy recovery and hope to see him here again someday soon. First off, we have Maggie Badiola. She is a project leader and RAS specialist with HTH Full Spectrum Aquaculture. And our other panelist today will be Aaron Schweitzer, Area Hatchery Manager with the Michigan Department of Natural Resources. Welcome, you two.
Thank you.
And I want to say as well, thank you for taking the time to talk with us today about this important topic. Now, folks, this webinar is being recorded and will be available to you via email within 48 hours. For our viewers, I'd like to remind you that this webinar will be made up of two parts. The first part of this webinar will consist of a panel discussion, and then in the last 15 minutes, I'd like to invite you to submit your own questions in the Q&A box, which can be found on the bottom menu of your screen. Now, it's important to use the Q&A function as opposed to putting the questions in the chat, and we will pick from there and have our panelists answer them as well. Let's get started, folks. First question, and Aaron, I'll get you to lead with this one. What got you started thinking about energy efficiency or conservation in hatcheries?
Well, it kind of started as an exercise in attempting to produce savings with rising energy costs. And we really started to take a hard look at it back in 2015. And as we kind of dived into this subject of producing cost savings, we kind of realized that we're not going to stop energy costs from rising. And it's time to really take a look at ourselves in the mirror and see what we could do to, conserve energy better. And when we started to get serious about it, we went and we had energy audits performed at our facilities. And if you don't know what an energy audit is, just a quick and dirty, basically engineers come in that know a lot more about how electricity works and functions in your facility, more than a biologist would know, obviously. And they end up analyzing what you have at your site. And in our case, we got back 40 to 50 page documents from these folks, explaining where we could really start impacting our energy usage. And energy audits are if you have a co-op energy producer, sometimes they do these for free. We did pay for a couple of ours, and back in 2017, they were about $1,500 for the facilities. But it gave us a blueprint of where to go and where to start implementing change. And it really was, we could see where the heavy hitters were. We could go after, very short return on investment items like lighting, etc. So it also gave us a blueprint, or not really a blueprint, but a document to use if we wanted to go after funding in future years. So we're doing this, we're moving along. In 2018, our administration changes, and the current administration is very supportive of energy efficiency and renewable energy. So next thing you know, by 2020, we have a solar installation, think household size, at one of our facilities at a visitor center. So this is a 6 kilowatt array. It's at a visitor center, nice pilot project. And I gotta say, this one, we were put forth on a charge to go out and get solar going in our Department of Natural Resources for people to see, to start the renewable energy and be leaders. And so we didn't have a lot of funding at first. And I'll tell you, the solar project that we put at that visitors center was funded by donations. We had friends of the Odin State Fish Hatchery that contributed a large amount of money to that, and the Frey Foundation. I know they're local, but I had to give them a little heads up there. But we got that up, and we started seeing the savings immediately. In fact, we're just about at a zero-sum game. And just, if people think, oh, I'm going to have no energy bill, don't think like that, because the energy companies do have standard fees. So there's $30 a month probably that you're going to pay in standard fees. But compared to $60 or $90 a month, $30 a month is really not bad. And you're using all of that energy you're producing with those solar panels. Anyway, we saw impacts right away when we decided to strike while the iron was hot. And in 2022, we were funded to install solar arrays at all 6 of our fish production facilities. And currently we have infrastructure in place at 6 of those, and interconnection has not been made quite yet. You know how building codes and permits and all that fun stuff goes. So we're waiting on that, but we're excited to have the interconnections here real soon and get those other 3 solar arrays up at our other facilities.
So from my side, I'm really happy to see that somebody is doing energy audits, because I've been advocating for that for the last 13 years since I started in the industry. Actually, when I started my master's in 2011, and I saw that RAS were like super energy demanding systems, and nobody was looking for the energy for different reasons. I was like, how a super energy consuming system, nobody's looking to that. So that's why I got into it, and I developed different energy audit and life cycle assessments protocols or standards for the farms. And and I always been talking and advising people that they should look more for the energy, because it's not only the economy. I mean, it's, for me, it's both sides. It's economical advantages. I mean, you should look to your economy, and also environmentally. Right now, we should all look for our environment. I mean, we are destroying our planet, so we all should have more efficient and more sustainable systems. It might sound like politically whatever, but I think it's the right way to do it. And aquaculture has as a really new industry, has an opportunity to be one of the leaders on such a topic. So yeah.
Well, it certainly plays into the messaging around aquaculture being that sustainable choice for the future too, right? So
yeah.
So you both worked with these systems and looking for upgrades and improvements. So in your experience, what are the biggest sources of consumption or inefficiency that you find in most systems? And Maggie, let's get you to start with this one.
So for me, the biggest source is not knowing where the energy consuming is coming from. Mm-hmm. So you should really definitely know where the most energy consumption is coming from in your system. And as Aaron was explaining, making an energy audit is super easy and cheap, or what I mean, in the long term is a very low cost investment. And once you know where the energy is coming from, you can make decisions. Also, several years ago, I conducted a survey among different companies and different industry stakeholders, and poor process management was also, together with poor designs, were also the main energy consuming sources. And we are still looking for really skilled people to manage those RAS systems. Also, most of the times you overfeed the systems to make up those poor design that I just mentioned, and also will be like really high profile or really pumping water from really high level water systems. So I think that's the main sources, together also with the lack of energy recovery. We waste the energy and we don't recover it. So we should also look into those possibilities.
Aaron, you might be able to speak to this also, having done an energy audit in your facilities. So, on-site generation, great solution to a lot of problems, but sort of what were the areas where, like you say, those low-hanging fruit, the heavy hitters that you could kind of tick off the box that was consuming a lot of energy?
So yeah, I definitely would echo what Maggie said about energy audits. Do that. It is relatively inexpensive, free sometimes from your energy provider, and it just gives you that blueprint to start going. Lights. I mean, that was one of the quickest return on investments for us is switching over to LED lights. And I did that in my own home after I found out what a quick ROI that was. It's amazing. And all of our hatcheries now, they're all on those LED lights, but without having an energy audit, that's a big one there that you can check off right away. But as far as, for us, big sources of consumption were pumps. And so just for a little background, a lot of our facilities were, the last time they were modernized or modernized, I guess would be the word, was the 60s. So there's a fair number of pumps, and at some facilities, many pumps that are dating back to the 60s, and the improvements we've made since the 60s on the pump efficiencies, those motors on those pumps, is absolutely amazing. And pumps, big users. One of the things that we did was started to install VFDs on those pumps that we couldn't replace. VFDs were a less expensive option at the time. But one other point I want to hit on this subject is the operators, us, in changing that mindset. I was brought in. I've been in fish production for 23 years, maybe longer if you count my college days, but it's the operator and changing the mindset of the operator too. As I learned how to do things, it was fire the pump, get water flowing over the boards or over the wall on the head tank so that we've got enough water. And really, we've got to change the mindset to, wait, let's try to hit the wall instead of overflowing, because where's that overflowing water going? Down the drain. We're not able to use that. Nobody's using it. It's energy that's lost. And so without our facilities being around so long, we were taught, just fire it up. And, it wasn't that, I talk about pumps being built in the 60s, and pumps were on or off. And as you install VFDs and install new pumps with greater efficiency, you can control things and have control of your facility a lot more. So, combination of mindset of the operator and those pumps, they can be a big source of consumption.
That's great, guys. Thank you. Now, Maggie, I just want to touch on something that you mentioned there about energy recovery in facilities. Now, are we mostly talking about thermal energy recovery for heating or cooling water, or what does that look like in the field for you?
I mean, different options. I would say the one you said is also one of the options, but I mean, there are. I don't have an example right now to tell you, but I think there are different opportunities to tackle on in the industry, and we should all looking for that. Green energy for, I mean, as a source, obviously, and then to yeah, instead of wasting that energy, to recover it and to use it to for example, to heat other or to use it in another place in the farm that is not maybe in the fish farm itself, but in other places. So yeah, it's something that we all should look to it. Maybe I don't have more examples, or maybe they do have an energy recovery system, but yeah.
Right on. Well, let's move on to the next question here. So, upfront costs can certainly be a concern for when discussing upgrades, right? There's always a cost to these things. However, hatchery operators are known for their resourcefulness, right? What are some operational changes operators can implement to get some of that efficiency benefit? Now, Maddie, let's lead with you on this one. Aaron, you did touch on this, and maybe you've got some more ideas to chip in as well.
Do you want me to go?
Yes,
Sorry.
please.
Oh yeah. So I think yes. I mean, we are talking about the same thing, but conducting an energy audit should to know where those changes should be implemented is crucial, and that's getting an efficient and from that you make the right decisions. As Aaron was saying, they got a report where they had some advices, and they follow those, and they know where they need to make the changes. Also improving daily management in the operators, and as he was saying, the changing the mindset is also another thing, which also includes not overfeeding the fish, because also daily management means knowing fish behavior. And once you know your fish, you know when you need to feed them, how they are acting. So that also is efficient in the long term, and also that gives you to estimate more better the biomass you have in the tank. So I think the daily management plays a really important role on the efficiency in the system, but also in the energy saving the energy it requires. Yeah.
Great point. Certainly, having the data in hand will help you you for sure, big time.
Yeah, measuring everything you can, because everything you measure, you can change it. If you don't measure, obviously you're not able to change or to make to know where to go. But if you measure it, you can change it. So yeah, that's my thought, I guess.
Numbers are more impactful than assumptions, that's for sure.
Yes.
Aaron, is there anything else you'd like to add into that?
Yeah, it's I would. Thank you. There's something that as new hires come in, I always look for this in people, especially at a hatchery, because there's alarms, there are things that can go wrong. And so one of those kind of intangible things I look for in people is just being aware of their surroundings. And so in a hatchery, it is, or any sort of culture operation, it is very important to be aware of your surroundings. And so that's that, I jump to that even for energy efficiency. Just be aware of what you're doing. When you walk out of the room, hey, turn the lights off. And really one of the simple things that we changed in many of our rooms in the admin buildings was putting in sensors. So if you walk in, the sensor turns on the lights. If nobody's moving for 5 minutes, the lights go out. But look at your operations, look at areas where you can improve and change things, and just it takes a little bit of thoughtfulness and taking the time. I understand how it can be, in a hatchery, you're go all day long, and you don't always sometimes get those moments to sit down, but it takes some thoughtfulness. So think about what's going on and think about where water is going and what, how could that possibly change our operation? And really, I got to jump on a little soapbox about technology. There is sensing technology out there now that is really a game changer, that where it can set, water levels can be sensed. That sensing equipment can communicate with your VFD. It can ramp that. And sorry, I'm throwing out VFD as if everybody knows what a VFD is. That is a variable frequency drive. So what that's going to do to your pump is you can either manually control that with a dial. So say most pumps are probably running at about 65 hertz. That's going to be about your maximum. You can dial that back so that your pump speed is not running as quickly. You're not pushing as much water. And that can really be a benefit as far as energy consumption. And for that matter, it's economical to do that. So this new technology is sensing water levels and communicating with VFDs so that you can keep a constant water level in your tank, in your head tank, whatever your operation looks like, even if I'm sure it's applicable in RAS, which we don't have a lot of, but we're dealing with flow-through systems in Michigan. But those are game changers, and that's definitely something that operators should look into to get the most benefit out of their water usage.
Excellent points, both of you. Thank you very much. Let's talk about on-site generation. And Aaron, let's leave with you because you've got more experience in your own facilities on this. So, solar, obvious choice for some spots. What other sort of options are there out there for operators, and what does installation look like?
Yeah, so we didn't just pick solar out of the blue. It wasn't like, hey, all right, solar, that's cool, let's do that. We really searched the market and looked, and we looked at wind, we looked at hydro, and we looked at solar. Those were our three big renewables that we really kind of dove into and really did our market research. Solar, it was pretty much a no-brainer. Solar was the best economic value for us. That's not to say that hydro could be it. The big point with hydro is that for us, retrofitting things to fit hydro into our systems was going to be cost prohibitive. Wind, that was more of a visual thing. So we all know how popular the wind farms are. So we tried to shy away from that because, like I said before, we're trying to be leaders. We want it to look nice, and we want to show people that this stuff's going to work. And I mean, solar, in my opinion, has really started to take hold. It's an economically viable option for generating renewable energy. I wouldn't have said that 10 years ago. I think that the solar arrays were still a little bit out of reach in price, and then your return on investment. So for instance, right now, the solar arrays that we're putting in have an ROI of about 15 years. The life expectancy of these solar arrays is 25 to 30 years. So that, in my opinion, is, if we're going to do something with renewables, that's the way to go. We didn't see that with wind or hydro either, as we studied that and did our market research. I gotta go a little weird here. I'm not an astrophysicist or anything, but one of the coolest things about solar for me is that we are capturing energy that is outside of our planet. the wind is on our planet, the hydro is on our planet, the sun is not on our planet. And yes, other things absorb the energy from the sun, but we're taking energy from outside of our planet and creating energy, usable energy in our facilities. I just think that's really neat. Sorry, had to geek out on you there a little. But yeah. Man, energy audits, and those will support funding to do things like that. So for us, we have a management team, and when I go to sell something, I want to have data, because a lot of our management team is science people, and we all know science people love data and love to make decisions based on data. And when you can show your management team or your board or whoever you're going against to get funding for on-site generation, that's a really important tool to have in your toolbox.
Okay.
Absolutely. And listen, just FYI, thinking about it conceptually like that, it is pretty neat, Aaron, objectively. So.
I would like to add something. I mean, I think, as you said, at solar energy, it has taken some years to get to be made. I mean, cost efficient, or we will say. So I think it will take this also some years to other energy sources to be the same. Geothermal, for example, has been used, I mean, in different countries. Obviously, Norway is the main source of energy, and that's why most of the salmon farms never been worried about the energy, because about that. But also, I have to say, here where I come from in the Basque Country, they were doing some pilot scale systems for the wave energy, because here the waves are huge energy, and they were thinking about installing those converters here. It's not for now, it's not economically viable for now, but we need to look for economic of scale. So that could be also in another option of energy, in obviously in certain areas of the world, not everywhere, but at least here, for example, is could be a source of energy. So yeah, I just wanted to make that point.
An excellent point indeed. So we're talking about cost savings. You know, that's an obvious perk or benefit of doing energy upgrades, right? And you touched a little bit on this as well in the beginning here, Maggie, but what are some less tangible benefits from doing something like this? And just throwing it out there, brainstorming here, thinking about like public perception, for example.
Yeah. And as I said before, for me, the energy is not only the cost, the economic thing, is also environmental, and being also less pollutant, we will say. I know that this may sound like a dream or a wish, or I don't know, but we need to look not only from an economic point of view, but also from the environmental, and those also, and having also the society into account, because the society and the people is now more concerned about how the system, the food is made, where it comes from. Animal welfare is also really a really hot topic right now, how those animals are treated. So I think making that marketing strategy, it could be for a company point of view, but from my side as an engineer, as an energy, looking for the energy consumption side, I would say that this is also really important. So yeah, I think that those are my main points right now, and making people conscious and aware of this important.
Very good. That's so true, and it's there's wide-ranging benefits well outside of that economic impact for sure.
Might be like a wish, like a dream, but I think it's something that we all should look to it. So
hey, listen, like Aaron thinking about his sunshine, it's important that we find our passion in whatever pursuit we're undertaking, right? So it's an important part of a well-lived existence for sure.
Yeah.
Aaron, is there anything else you'd like to add in on that?
Oh, you hit on it, Ben, right away with public perception. And I think I mentioned that was one of the things that we really wanted to show to the people in our state and really other aquaculturists is showing that renewable energy has a place in aquaculture facilities. And if we can do it, you can do it. And so one of the important parts for me is not only constructing solar arrays and getting these up at our facilities, but it's also education. And so educating visitors, educating our stakeholders, educating other aquaculturists. That's why I loved that I was invited to be on this. That's what we're doing today. That's what I bring when I go to conferences. That's what I bring. That's what's in my pocket is I want to talk about renewable energy, even though I'm a fish farmer. But just being leaders, aquaculture is up and coming. It's growing. And the more that we can be leaders on the renewable energy front, the more we can show and educate people, not only on aquaculture, but about how to use renewable energy and how to be good to the environment.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's great to see alignment on this topic for sure, industry wide. And you're certainly right. A lot of times you get these discussions and everybody feels the same generally, right? So just going back to the technical here. So and Aaron, you'd be a great person to start on this one too. What are some considerations around energy conservation in cold climates where inherently, cold climates have operations have very high carbon footprints because of heating needs, right? So what are some sort of specifics that you had to think about in cold climates? And then if either of you had experience in warm climates too, it'd be great to talk on that.
Perfect. Effective insulation is one of the keys in when you're heating water, it keeping your pipes insulated and capturing that and holding that heat in, and to go with that, properly functioning HVAC systems, your heating and cooling and air circulation systems need to, again, here we go, energy efficiency. When I came in, we had stuff from the 60s, and we've slowly been pulling that old energy eating, all of those units out of our facilities and bringing in new energy efficient systems. And this is both, it's all of this stuff is seriously not only good for the environment, it's good for your bottom line as well, because these are all economically feasible options and will help your bottom line and help down, drive those energy costs down because you're not using as much. But really, trying to be as efficient as we can in extreme climates is what it's all about. And it really, I had another idea and I lost it, but whatever. Maybe I'll remember it again. Oh yeah, heating water. You're usually heating water with a boiler, and if you think about what's going out your stack, it's hot air. And so we talked about this earlier, trying to capture some of that other energy and putting in boiler economizers, which try to capture some of that heat and heat up some more water and bring it back to the boiler. It's another great thing to look into, if you're in a cold climate. Warm climates, I'm going to say insulation, effective insulation, and properly functioning HVAC systems, again, is going to be key.
Yeah, certainly all about if you're going to expend the energy, maximize value and keep as much of it in the facility as you possibly can, right? So, Maggie, is there anything you'd like to chip in there?
I just, I agree with Aaron in all the things he said, but also choosing the right species. I think we need to try to do species where, I mean, we don't need to do fancy things, you know. I mean, make a species where they are, I mean, you understand me. I mean, choose the right species in the right locations, not do extremely fancy things. So yeah.
So instead of taking, making a species an environment that's simply not suited to it, try and
Yeah,
use the environment to
yeah,
in that regard for
yeah.
sure.
Why we want to do, I mean, I don't know, a cod in Egypt. I mean, there is no, I mean, we need a cold water species. I mean, we could obviously, yeah, for sure. But I mean, we need to be also kind of rational on that, I guess. So
Yes, certainly
yeah.
consideration for sure. When we think about new facilities, right? We've talked a bit about kind of what we can do to upgrade older facilities, but when you're thinking about new facilities, right from sort of the ground level, step one, you've got this chance to build this beautiful new hatchery. What are some particular considerations around that? What should people looking to design a facility be thinking of overall?
Adam, do you want to go or?
Sure. Yeah, I'll fire away. I would say I'm gonna build right off of Maggie's previous answer with putting the right species in the right place. So for somebody in Michigan, we're probably not going to be very efficient rearing tropical fish here in Michigan. However, you get those cold water species, those salmonids, the cool water, walleye, pike, things like that, muskie. We're going to be able to handle that in really not have to heat a lot. So thinking about what you want to rear and where you want to rear it is definitely very important. But some other things, properly insulating facilities. There I go with insulation again. But your footprint, I mean, it sounds basic, but think about your configuration, what you want to do. Is it going to be a RAS system? Is it going to be flow through? And if it is flow through, can you reuse that water? And furthermore, can you use gravity to reuse your water as opposed to like a partial RAS and reusing water in different series of raceways? So, that footprint's important in how you configure everything. And absolutely use new technology that senses water levels and communicates with you've got to pump water somewhere in your facility. There's going to be a pump. Use a VFD and have that level sensing equipment communicate with those VFDs to get things running fine-tuned. And hey, you can always consider renewable energy.
Thank you, Aaron. Hey, Maddie, anything you want to add to that?
I will add, as Aaron was saying at the very beginning, the LED lights for sure. Oh, that's for sure, and also choosing or hiding the, I mean, or skilled people, or at least training them and making them conscious of what they are, and they are dealing with a system, but also with the living animals. So. And they need to understand, all of them need to understand the balance on that. So I think that's also one of the things that still the industry is lacking of, and we really need to work on that. So I think, but yeah, that's all.
Well, it really sounds like then in that sort of situation, the important thing is to be thinking critically, but it almost sounds like there's no level of examination or critical thinking that's almost like you can't go too far in that thought process to some degree. Of course, anything can be excessive, but any bit of water that's moving, how can I maybe get some of that energy back? Any of that heat, how can I recapture that, reuse that, right? Especially if you're building a new facility, you maybe have an opportunity to look to build in ways to do this, right? So let's we've touched on passion a few times here, so let's talk about what excites you folks. You're looking to the future of energy conservation and hatcheries and sort of the most advanced systems that are either online now or coming online. What what excites you about the future of energy conservation and on-site generation in hatcheries? Aaron, do you want to start with this one?
Absolutely. Let's face it, aquaculture facilities are energy consumers. We have to be. But the part that's exciting for me is being a leader in energy conservation and renewable energy generation, and being able to share those stories and educate the people around me. That's what's exciting to me. If one person out here today listens to this and goes and gets an energy audit at their facility, I'm hitting a home run.
I'm already happy because Aaron has already made an energy audit. So can you, imagine, I've been looking for this for the last 10 years, but not, also like 2 weeks ago, somebody also contacted me in order to get an energy audit in their hatchery. So I think people is getting more and more conscious. Also, I was in Rastec in Orlando like 1 month ago, maybe or so, and I got the feeling that people is are getting to understand and to talk about the energy. So for me, that's I'm super happy with that. So yes, as Aaron was saying, if somebody right now after this seminar call us or call Aaron to ask about energy audit, that would be great. So yeah, I think that people we need to educate them, and educating those people for me is my future. Yeah.
Have you folks seen in these discussions and these educational contexts, have you seen, where do you find that people's sort of understanding lacks most often? And I'm asking this with the intention of other folks who might want to advocate for this. How can they prepare themselves beyond getting an energy audit and getting the numbers in front of them? How can they sort of prepare to, maybe go ask for funding or help get people on board with this sort of upgrade operation? Like where do you see the knowledge gaps the most?
Aaron, do you want to go? Or
Yeah, absolutely.
okay,
I will.
Okay.
So education, just knowing what's out there, knowing what is and isn't economically feasible. And I hate to pound on the energy audit drum, but that really helps with the funding. If the folks that are funding your facility are of the science type, we love data. We'd love to see that. So, and just being knowledgeable on, what renewables can do for your facility, what conserving energy can do for your facility. And when I talk about those, I'm talking about the bottom line, because that's also what a management team or a board wants to hear about, is the bottom line. Can we save money and increase profit? For me, there's no profit in this, but I understand that many other aquaculture facilities there's profit involved. So that's being educated and being able to convey that in a way that other folks understand is extremely important, because that's kind of where those gaps are. Is, wait, how'd you get from here to there? And being able to explain that is very important.
Yeah, understanding that not only the economic is important, but also the environmental thing. So I think that's the main, educating on that is the most important. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Well, listen, folks, it's been a great guided discussion through this, but I think it's time we turn it over to the floor here, and we'll start answering some questions. Now, looking at the Q&A here, we do have some. First question, Andrew is asking, with solar, how do you cover your nighttime usage? And Aaron, you're probably a good one to start off with this.
Oh, great. Yeah, that's a great question. So, here in the northern climates, not only do we have to deal with darkness, but you think about the winter and how long it is dark in the winter. We may have eight hours of daylight in the winter time. And so all of our, well, I shouldn't say all, that pilot project is a net metering project. And so what happens with that solar array is any solar we produce, we're using. And if we are producing more, it's going back to the grid and we are getting credit for that. Okay. And then when it gets dark, we can use that credit to pay for what we're pulling off the grid. Net metering is pretty much going bye-bye everywhere. So it's being phased out in Michigan anyways. And so what we've done with our solar arrays that we put it at our hatcheries now is they are behind our meter. And so anything that we're producing during the day, we're using and not pulling off the grid. If we're producing more, it's going back to the grid, but we're not getting credit for it. These are ours. We own these. At nighttime, unless we go in that's a different subject, but we don't have storage, so we can't, the solar arrays aren't doing anything for us at night. And I just want to add to this, if anybody's thinking about backup, renewables are not, I would not recommend them as a source of backup energy for any facilities at this point. Continue to rely on your generators for backup power.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you. The next question here is what are your thoughts on cogeneration? So natural gas cogen, for example. So are either of you feel free to take the lead on this one?
I mean, as long as it's cost effective, I mean, anything would be good. I don't have a more, I mean, a much idea on that right now, but I think as long as it's cost effective for the company, or if it's suitable in the location where it is, for sure. I mean, I think it's another way to go. I might have another opinion, but I don't know.
No, it's very important, especially
Yeah.
in aquaculture, when you're dealing with livestock, is to have backup systems in place, right? It's only do you well, for sure. Aaron, did you folks take a look at any sort of cogeneration scheme when you're looking at solar?
We did not. So I really didn't have much to add to that.
Right on. Very good. Thank you, folks. Okay, another question from Andrew here. When talking about lighting specifically, and especially in a facility where you might rely on a lot of lighting, say if you're growing algae, for example, what are the sort of best lighting options out there? Like we mentioned LEDs, they can be costly, I suppose, but what are some other, what are sort of the spectrum of options out there for lighting? Or is LED really king right now?
I think you hit it, Ben. LED is king.
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah, and it's certainly something that I think it seems the costs are coming down quite a lot for LED.
Yeah.
Every time you buy LEDs, they're cheaper, right?
Yeah.
So it's I think it's a matter of where you might have this positive feedback cycle where, you know, they get a bit cheaper, more people buy them, they can scale up production, they get cheaper again, et cetera, on and so forth.
Yeah, it's
right?
like as the solar energy that Adam was saying, that 10 years ago it wasn't cost effective. Right now it's more cost. I mean, it takes time. It's a matter of time, a matter of people demanding more, so the prices go down. So yeah.
That's right. Very good. We have another question here from an anonymous attendee. We mentioned the importance of smart sensing in the facility, and you both touched on that as well. And specifically, use the example of using water level sensors to talk to the VFDs to control pumping flow rates. So the question here is, outside of also sensing water temperatures throughout the facility, what are maybe 2 or 3 other top things to monitor, sense in a facility to improve operations or efficiency? And Maddie, if you'd like to take the lead on this one.
I need to think about it right now.
No problem.
I'm
Aaron.
blank.
You just okay. So we hit on water. So I'm gonna hatcheries need power, oxygen, and water to operate. So we hit on water with VFDs and pumping rates. So oxygen, if you have any sort of oxygen generating equipment or even liquid oxygen at your facility and you're supplementing oxygen levels, keep track of your DOs. And again, there are smart meters that will talk to a central command board, and you can look at what's going on in your facility. Maybe you're using too much oxygen and you don't need to pull that much oxygen to supplement into your facility. And then power, monitor your all of your power sources, but understand what's going on at your facility. Don't have things plugged in that you're not using that our energy sucks. So, and I mean, that goes down to as things as simple as a charging cord for your phone. Unplug it, because it is literally draining energy plugged into the wall and just hanging there without a phone attached to it. That is it. That is draining energy right there. So it can be as small as that, but it can be as large as, hey, I'm looking at my utility bill here, and I use 10% more utility or in utilities than I did at this time last season. What did we do differently? And who knows, maybe at the end of investigating that and thinking about that, you find out that you've got a pump that's going bad or something along those lines. So really monitoring those three things, power, oxygen, and water, you're gonna do well with energy conservation. But okay, I'm just going to say, but you can monitor that all you want, but you also have to critically think about it and execute on the other end.
I mean, you need to monitor and take action. Obviously, monitoring is easy, but after you need to take, you need to take the action on that. So yeah, I think that's the way to go. Yeah.
And it's sort of, in summary, it's much like the point you made before, Maddie, which is almost like you need as much information as you need to make good, rational, operational management decisions. So as much as you can sort of feasibly monitor and track, and as much information as you can gather, truthfully, it's not it's very rarely a waste of time or money or effort or anything like that, right? So I mean, you don't need to necessarily sense every movement of air in your facility or anything like that, but it's you often don't realize how useful some information can be.
Oh yeah.
Do you really need that information, right? So you might be like,
Yeah.
oh, I wish I was tracking that, and then you start tracking it, right? So
Yeah.
it's as much as you can gather, it's always a good thing.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah.
Right on. We are at the end of the questions here, folks. So just want to give you both just a quick opportunity to just give us your parting thoughts here, and we've had a great discussion today, and we're all three of us are quite passionate about the topic. In fact, I think we probably talk all day, but what do you want to leave everyone with? And Aaron, do you want to take the lead on this one?
Absolutely. That's great. Well, I think for me, anybody that's out there just, taking a first step and getting on a webinar like this and thinking about your facility. And that's really important to begin thinking about your facility and what you're doing and how you can begin to go through this process to really take a look at yourself in the mirror. What am I doing? And am I doing anything to help this, or am I continuing to affect my bottom line? And so get an energy audit done. Start checking some of those things off, because not only will it be good for your bottom line, it'll help you save energy and be, a better steward of our planet.
Yeah, I do agree with Aaron, Yeah, getting educated. I mean, having people on this seminar for me is great. People is getting more and more conscious about it, and yeah, knowing that energy is super important. I mean, energy is what drives the planet, I guess. So, yeah, it's not destructive. I mean, we convert the energy; it's not destructive. So I think it's super important. And right now, with the current world situation, also we all are more aware of what the importance of the energy is. So I think aquaculture, as I said before, aquaculture is the right is the industry that should be leading this, and make other industries also conscious about which is I mean the importance of the energy. So yeah, and thank you all for being here today. So yeah.
Also like to echo thank you for being here today. Maddie and Aaron, it's been an absolute pleasure. We are unfortunately at the end of our time today, so I'd invite you to turn off your video at this time. Now, folks, as I said, that is all the time we have for this webinar today. So again, I want to thank the panelists for donating their time to this important topic and helping us to think more broadly and more in depth also about energy efficiency in our operations, which is an extremely important topic, especially these days. Thank you to you viewers for submitting your questions and being here with us today. I'd also like to take this opportunity once again to thank our webinar series sponsor, Hatchery International. And as well, I'd like to just take one moment to invite you folks to join us once again for our next webinar, which is on August 16th, and that's looking at the topic of water conservation. Now, the theme today was energy conservation, and what we sort of came home with was that it's really important to look for opportunities to be efficient in your operation, both for economic and environmental reasons, and water is very much the same, right? Water is probably our number one resource in any hatchery operation. So how can we be more efficient and conscientious in our use of this resource in our operations? So once again, folks, thank you very much for joining us today, and we hope to see you next time as well.